Well, Adrian, nice to see you.
Hello.
And it's really quite something, all that. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to see the film.
I have, not the ones today, but I've seen them before at the open evening.
Yes, it's a really heart-rending story, isn't it? But generally, I mean, the work they do is fantastic, and it must be so rewarding for everyone involved to see these bears recovering.
Very worthwhile cause.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah. But we've got a topic which is slightly smaller.
Yes.
Just as furry and cute. And this involves a Yorkie with a rather mysterious complaint. And the way we sort of came aware of this was one of our clients sent us in a video. And I think we can play that video now. So we're going to have a quick look at this video and then we'll have a chat about what we think could be going on with this little Yorkie. So just having a quick look at this video. And I mean, what this is showing, I think, is that he's having these episodes of sort of trembling,
collapsing, yeah.
I mean, how would you describe what's going on here?
So he seems to be getting quite weak and wobbly. He doesn't really go into a full collapse state, like sometimes we can see where they're completely over on the side and completely unresponsive. And then he seems to slowly come around and get back up again and be quite wobbly. Obviously, it's quite a short little video, but it's still very useful.
And what sort of things would be going through your mind as a vet when you see that? What sort of differential diagnosis?
So it's quite common for people to come in and say, my animal's been having these funny turns or collapses or seizures. They all describe them in a different way. And it's very difficult to know what's going on without something like this video evidence. It's really useful because there are kind of three categories of collapse, big categories that we would see. So they're the animals that collapse and they come in collapsed and you can see that there's clearly a problem.
And then I guess in a way it's easier then because you've got a collapsed animal, you can diagnose the problem. Yeah.
Yes, most of the time you can see what's going on. Then you've got the animals that collapse and come in and they walk in, but there's still something that you can find clearly wrong with them. So they're still ataxic, they're wobbling, or they've still got a clear heart murmur, or their lung sounds awful, or they've gone yellow. Something you can see is wrong with them. And then you've got the third group of animals, which we see very frequently, which is they've had these funny turns of collapsing, but when they come in, they're completely normal, and you can find nothing wrong with them on examination at all. And they can be very frustrating because everything in front of you is normal most of the time, and if you've not got the animal to look at the time they're having the episode, it's very difficult to try and pin down.
Unless I guess there's something else, so investigating that then is looking beneath the surface, things like blood tests and whatever.
Yeah, you can do things like blood tests, but they can quite often come back as completely normal, because the two big categories that we usually associate with these episodic collapsings are heart problems and neurological problems, so brain problems, seizures.
The heart problems causing a collapse because literally the heart doesn't pump efficiently or well, lack of blood flow to the brain and
exactly right. The blood pressure goes, they get wobbly and they go down, and that tends to be a kind of intermittent arrhythmia, so the heart rhythm is wrong, too fast, too slow, and that's what gives you the blood pressure, rather than kind of heart failure with a murmur, because that you can usually still pick up on the examination. So the guys that just having the rhythm abnormalities, when they come in and you listen to them, if they're not having that abnormality there and then, they'll seem completely normal.
So how would, I mean, your suspicions on this case then would again come down to, I suppose, the classic neurological epilepsy or some kind of heart problem?
Yeah, I mean, there are other things too, so metabolics on the list too, so liver problems, kidney problems, they're all there, and you might see those on a blood test. So I think a blood test is absolutely part of the workup for this dog, what you should do to see if there's a problem. But yeah, heart and brain are the two big ones. Now this guy, little puppy coming, this guy, he's not having a full-blown seizure. We can tell that from the video. The video is really useful. So he could be having a partial seizure, but he's certainly not having a full-blown one. Generally speaking, when people think their dog's having a seizure and we're trying to figure out, is it heart, is it seizure, and they are having a full-blown, so different to this, and they've gone down, they're completely out.
And the classic signs of that kind of seizure would be the kind of kicking legs and the kind of loss of responsiveness. Loss
of responsiveness. We don't say consciousness generally because the eyes, they stay open and people can get confused with that.
So they are technically unconscious.
So if you call them and they don't respond, then they're unresponsive. So they tend to do that, but they can do that with a really prolonged heart problem too. Both of those things. The difference between the two tends to be, so in the pre-seizure stage or the pre-collapse stage, the seizuring animals will tend to know something's about to happen. So they can be a little bit agitated, whereas the heart dogs can be completely normal. They sometimes can be triggered by excitement because it's a heart problem, right? But generally they're completely normal. Then during the actual episode itself, if they're having a full-blown one, They both can have that paddling, but with the heart dogs, what can happen is it can go on is that the head can tilt backwards, what we call stargazing, so the head tilts backwards. That doesn't tend to happen with seizures long term.
Right.
They both can mess themselves, that can happen with both of those, but in the seizuring dogs, they tend to get hypersalivation, so loads of saliva comes out, and the jaws are chomping, they're really going fast, and when they come round, the heart dogs tend to make pretty much a full recovery within a few seconds. They might be a bit wobbly, they might go and have a lie down, but they're pretty much normal straight away. Whereas the seizure dogs are knackered afterwards because they've been really breathing hard, really working hard with that seizure. When they come round, they're tired, they're breathing really hard, and that tends to be a difference between the two as well. And they'll take a little bit longer to recover.
So in this particular case,
yeah.
where are you
So in this
angling?
particular case, it's either going to be a partial seizure, so rather than a full-blown one, you can just have a very minor
kind of
one.
epilepsy,
Yeah, a very minor
Yeah.
partial seizure, or this could be a heart problem. You know, so not a prolonged one, but just a brief.
Would you
heart one.
consider something like a 24-hour ECG?
That's the only way
monitoring?
you're gonna pick that up. Is you can get these halters. You can either get them from a specialist cardiologist, or there are places that rent them out to first opinion vets, and you can use them there. And they can go on for kind of 1 to 7 days, and they just monitor the dog's heart the whole time. And the owner's got a little button, and if the dog has what they call an event, you press that button,
and it records it in more detail.
Yeah, and then the vets know, oh, that's the time we need to go and have a look what's going on at that point.
So maybe that's the next step with this case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I actually think we've moved on slightly further with this case because obviously we didn't want to wait to work up a dog that was collapsing for the show. So we've actually been in touch with these owners, and they've had their blood test done, and there is a slight abnormality in the liver area. So we'll look a little bit further there, but that could still be heart. That can do that too. So we'll chase that down.
Yeah, well, perhaps we'll come back to this in the subsequent shows and sort of update you, because it's a really interesting case. It's one of the most challenging that we have to face.
Yeah. The animals that come in normal but have a real severe problem are really difficult to chase down. So videos are great.